Do women prefer oral sex to vaginal sex? That's what we're talking about today. I'm Dr. Diane, your libido expert, board-certified sexologist. And here's the thing, you guys. There's not a survey out there, first of all, that I think is well enough done to make any conclusion about this particular topic. But what I do find is that so many women are feeling like they are not experiencing their pleasure body being woken up in the way that would lead to the most amount of pleasure. So many times there's these things that happen, right, where there's this mismatch, a desire, and that can happen from a female perspective for many times, for many ways, but one reason for that is because one of the biggest things that it's going to drive a woman to continue to want pleasure is that experience of pleasure. So the more pleasure that she receives, the more close to orgasm or orgasm she receives, the more enjoyable it is, the more it sends that chemical signal to the brain, and the more we want more, right? That is a more accurate description of this. Now, I think sometimes women will have a desire for oral sex over vaginal sex in many cases because it can be more reliable. If you watched one of my last videos where I walk you through some of the anatomy of the clitoris and all of the areas, not all, but a lot of the areas of the vulva that have erogenous tissue in them, one of the things that I think happens with oral sex is there's more of a tendency to activate all of these different erogenous zones. So I think there'd be more of a tendency in the cases where women do prefer oral sex. I think there'd be more of a tendency to enjoy more vaginal sex if there was more attention given to these pleasure structures of the vulva, of the clitoris, that have so many nerve endings, and frankly, that do get ignored many times in just vaginal penile intercourse. Now, what we also see, and what I have seen in surveys, is that there is a direct relationship with oral sex and the quality of the relationship. So meaning if there's a perceived quality of like really high and good in the relationship, then especially from the female perspective, there is a tendency to both give and receive more oral sex. So there can be this relationship with oral sex and the functioning of the relationship. But, there's also women that prefer vaginal sex, right? There's also women that enjoy it both if it's like that combination of clitoral stimulation with vaginal sex. So this question of do women like oral sex more? I know so many times it's like, gosh, could we just get a straight answer here? But truly the answer is that it really does depend, right? It does depend upon the anatomy. It depends upon the uniqueness of the woman. It depends upon how safe she's feeling with her body. There's projects that are going over the amazing differences of the female vulvas. And it's really important because one of the things that I think can happen for women with oral sex and where they can be less interested is not being comfortable with their genitals, right? And so many times we're fed these images. If people have seen vulvas, somebody else's vulva, it's going to be probably like in a porn or some sort of rated X movie. And these are like a very narrow window of what vulvas look like, right? Vulvas look so drastically different. And so I think so many times there can be issues where women also, if they're not interested in oral sex, they just might not feel like they look right there. They might not feel like they smell right there. So we also want to break down some of those societal things. It can go a long way as a woman to hear your partner tell you that they love the way you look, right? And the way your vulva looks, right? It can go a long way for healing some of those wounds. And I think as women, it's important that we work to heal our own wounds. I think that's really important. I think it's important that men heal their wounds too. I think it's important that all humans heal their wounds. And I think we can also support each other along this journey. We're not alone. So with the vulva, if anybody's experiencing any sort of dislike of their vulva, I think it is very important to do mirror exercises where you're looking at it, you're touching it, you're putting your hand over your vulva, you're breathing kind words into it as you breathe in and out, saying kind things. And I think it's a lovely thing if you can get your partner involved to kind of worship your vulva, right? Give it some love. like tell you and tell your vulva how beautiful it is. And that external, it's like the work has to come from within for sure, but that external support can really help with repatterning any sort of, vulva or like looks from a dysfunctional standpoint around like thinking that it's not beautiful, because they're all beautiful. They're all uniquely beautiful. So it was a long-winded way of saying, like, when we're talking about the topic at hand, is a long-winded way of saying, like, from a standpoint of do women prefer oral sex? It's really, really less about do women do, and it's about what does a woman in your life prefer. That is the number one thing, and that's why I think one of the top most crucial parts of having a really great sex life is being able to talk to your partner about it and making these conversations, not attacking the ego, and making them normal and making them easy and supported and loving and kind. And because that's really when we have, I think, the greatest sex is when we are doing that. I sometimes talk about the story of Richard Bandler, the guy who founded NLP. I was listening to a lecture of his, and he was talking about, I'm going to paraphrase this, but he was talking something about like when he got married and people were saying like, oh, sex is going to get worse. And he was saying something like, well, that didn't make sense, right? Because how could he do something over and over and over and over again and have it get worse? And so that's really the biggest thing. I think sex can continue, and oral and all this pleasure can continue to get better and better and better the longer we are in relationship with somebody. But what does not make it better and better and better is doing the same things over and over, and especially when those same things are not in the highest interest of the individual. So the shocking truth of the question at hand is it depends. It depends upon the woman. It depends upon the relationship. It depends what she's going to like the best. And you got to talk to her, and she's got to talk to you, and you got to share, and you got to create space for sharing, because it's the only way you're going to learn about the uniqueness of you and about the woman in your life. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. Please do subscribe so I can get you more content like this. It does help me make this continued free content. Take good care.